Three, two, one. Hey, hey, hey. What's going on,
Hey,
man? Good to have
Austin.
you back in the studio.
How are you? Good to see you.
Doing well, man. Hey, did you see we got the smooth fade out this week? I've been working on that.
I like it. Well done. Good job.
Welcome back from 1 Million Cup Summit / Fast Track / what are all the other names? What all did you do? How was it?
Amazing. So much fun. I got to hang out with all the cool people from around the country. Officially, I think it was the Fast Track 1 Million Cups Summit. Fast Track comes first. Don't know why. I do know
Okay.
why. They were started earlier in like 1993. Then 1MC was started in 2012. But
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
Mr.
Yeah, I didn't
Kaufman was
realize.
around when Fast Track
Interesting.
started. The story goes, it was a very snowy winter, and Fast Track, when they started, got snowed out, and they decided to hold the event anyway to see who would show up, and anyone was interested. 700 people showed up.
Oh my gosh.
It was wonderful. Really big insights, really fun, really great connecting with folks all over the country. And one tangible takeaway and one tangible thing that happened is we are in the process of starting a Fast Track affiliate programs community. I'm still learning the words here in the capital region.
Awesome. What is Fast Track? I feel like we've talked about 1 Million Cups quite a bit on the show, but I'm not too familiar with Fast Track.
Yeah, Fast Track is Kaufman Foundation's democratized education curriculum, right? So it is very low barrier to entry, and any organization, nonprofit, for-profit, chamber, university, can go through the process and get support to start running cohorts of entrepreneurs, business owners, folks who need some additional education and support over the course of about 10 weeks. To grow their business, to do their business fundamentals, business plan type activities, get their pitch together, get all of these things that they need to really launch and really grow their business. And so they have packaged this into a curriculum and put a support network around it. And just like 1 Million Cups, they have regional leads, they have a program manager, and so it's very well supported for any organization that wants to become an affiliate to
Interesting.
start a Fast Track. So it's democratized entrepreneurship education, really.
I like that. And I also think that our guests today will have some good. I think there will be a lot that our guest today is going to be able to share on that also. But any other kind of big takeaways? What was your biggest lesson? Biggest thing that if someone wasn't at 1 Million Cups, Fast Track's 1 Million Cups Summit, what did they miss? What was the big takeaway?
Yeah, the big theme for this year was how do we continue to combine and partner the two programs? And we started that last year with the first ever combined Fast Track and 1 Million Cup Summit, where the running joke was for 1 Million Cups organizers, what is Fast Track, right? And so this year, it was themed around this idea of one network, greater impact, how 1 Million Cups as a community, meeting weekly, can supplement and support this Fast Track curriculum of entrepreneurship education and send businesses that are interested to this more formalized education component. And the businesses that are in here can come and present at 1 Million Cups. And it grows together. And I have met many different communities that run both 1 Million Cups and Fast Track, and that has very synergistic kind of effects on growing their ecosystem. And so from that, I encouraged our folks to start a Fast Track. And so we are chatting with the program managers and getting that off the ground by the new year. And on the flight back home, because I either sleep very well on the plane or think very well on a plane, and the Wi-Fi is slow or non-existent, I actually put together, first I'm really talking about this, I put together a panel design that can be submitted to conferences about this idea of combining fast track and 1 million cups and
Interesting.
what effects that could have. And I'm hoping to develop that a bit more and invite organizers and affiliates and program directors and facilitators from both programs to do this panel with me as we start off our capital region fast track and add that to our 11 years of 1 million cups experience. And folks from hopefully lights, well, I won't say people that haven't committed, but that have been doing it for a long time can also be on the
Working
panel
on
with us.
things.
Working
Working
on
on
really
things.
cool things.
Scheming. I love it.
Austin, how are you? Tell me about your week. What's going on? Give us the
doing
things.
well. It's an action-packed week. Right before we went live, I finished a video for our SCN Summit application to get that in for hosting for Louisville. Had a fun time doing the research with that alongside local ecosystem builder Larry Horn, who was able to pull together so much data. I mean, he's been doing this work for years and has been collecting data for years. And so just to see not just the narrative that I think a community will feel, but to have the data behind it, it was really cool to see this isn't just a feeling, like there's a lot of data to back this up. And so really appreciated all of his input into that process. And we'll see what the committee says and go from there. But yeah, that was the big win. And then I think the other win is, next week we have an event happening in town where you have the AI exchange, which is all about, those that are interested in AI and how do you apply it to your business and your life and et cetera. And so it's a meetup. And that was happening on the same day as an event called Vibe Code Night, which is people building with AI. And so we had some conversations in town of like, well, those are in two separate locations. Why don't we just do it in the same location? And then when one's done, they just move over to the next event because it's probably a common group. So it gives our community a chance to bring different communities together. And we were able to get buy-in on both organizing teams and got the venue to agree to the space. And so now we have a collaboration happening. So a few wins in the community that I'm excited to see the fruitions of. But overall, been a good week, just a really, really packed week. And awesome, I've been looking forward to our guest all week long. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce. Yes, let me go ahead and bring her to the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, listeners all across the globe, please welcome Anjanette Miller, CEO of Echo, North Carolina, to the stage.
Hello.
Anjanette, so good to have you on the Ecosystem Builder Show. How are you doing today?
Oh my gosh, so good. One, it's Friday, so that's always great. I just came back from a week of vacation. Oh, thank you. Yes. So yeah, it's great. Our weather's good here. We had a wonderful week with programming, and it's been nice. And I'm excited to kind of wrap summer up and start leaning into fall and wrap up this year. It's been a great year so far.
So for our listeners that don't know much about you and hearing the great programming, hearing you're having a great week so far, what are you doing that is so great? What is this programming you're speaking of? What is Echo?
Yeah, so excited. We've been talking about this for a couple of years now, of pivoting into a space where the impact and this entrepreneurial support organization and nonprofit, that we're really looking at pipelines and engagement that is seamless, easy for the stakeholders, right? For the entrepreneurs. So Echo now is an entrepreneurial community hub. We We changed our name now is an acronym, it's an entrepreneurial community hub for opportunity. And so we're like a little YMCA for entrepreneurs right here in downtown Durham. So not co-working, right? We're not selling real estate at all. You're not signing up as a member to have a hot desk and free good Wi-Fi and coffee. We have all those things, and you can come here and you can work. But when you're coming here, I just was waving to someone right before I came on, who just popped into the space to meet up with 3 other entrepreneurs. They're going to get some work done, but they're also going to build off of just a meeting that they had earlier in the week with someone that does some financial planning. So it's this idea that entrepreneurs build entrepreneurs. And so if we think about the magic, if anybody's been in a class or a cohort or you're in just the right room, the right day, you meet some really cool people and you feel that kind of magic, you know that something is going to happen. All we're trying to do is mechanize that room and just making sure we have kind of that magic on hand and let everybody build it and not wait for the right accelerator, or the right incubator, or the right startup weekend, or or find the right coach. Just put a bunch of people in the room and we'll find the way and we'll make it a lot easier. Want to share all the resources and just everybody get a little bit of financial freedom and some agency through entrepreneurship. So that's what makes me excited. And we just moved into our new space in May. So we're a couple months in. It's beautiful. People like it. Oh. We've hundreds of people coming through the space in the first couple months. Each month we've had at least 200 people coming through the space. So that's what makes the 12-hour weeks or 12-hour days, 12-hour weeks, I wish. Who has that? The 12-hour days worth it as we kind of stand up and test this out. Yeah.
I feel like, Richard, you're about to explode on many of the points that Anjanette was saying earlier. I was seeing you react. What was coming to mind for you as I could see it just bubble up as you were resonating with what she was saying?
I love this so much. And as I go through my thoughts, Austin, when you find a video or something, can we see the space, pictures, videos to get on screen?
I'll work on that.
This is super cool because I'm building a very similar space. I am building a entrepreneurship clubhouse.
I love
that
it.
is not co-working. That is not real estate, right? We are not selling tables. We're not selling seats. The value of becoming a member is the community and the support. And space happens to be part of the infrastructure, and they can use space to do whatever they want. And we'll build in tests so folks can run their own presentations and panels and events and live streams. We'll have a podcast studio, we'll have a boardroom, and we'll have a content creation studio. So that's not the sell. It is the community where we can all come together to build something together or alongside each other. That is the really valuable part here. And we see that co-working space companies sometimes have it wrong. They're looking to sell physical space without community attached as the product. And the product is not space. The product, if you will, which is product's not the right word, the value is community.
Correct. And to that point, and so you and I have been looking at the same data, same research, that a community manager at a co-working space, they want to talk about the community, right? And this co-working space has its unique value and its unique personality, and we're mission driven, or we're for startups, or we're for, right? And they want there to be community, but they can only be responsive to the members who are there and using the space for the space and for the coffee and the Wi-Fi, and everybody has their earbuds in. So it just won't build, but they'll sell it. And if you really are looking for community, you're going to be disappointed. Whereas I think if we flip it, and it's the anti-co-working co-working space, right? That if we flip it and programming becomes the engine, right? Then everything is flipped upside down. One thing we have found really successful as we tested this out, this idea of a YMCA, or I love a clubhouse, man, I love that. is it's all driven from the people in the room. So I rarely stand up a program, a workshop or a panel or an incubator or a accelerator. I don't stand anything up unless someone's asked me for it. So the people in the room have been like, Anjanette, do you know anybody who can teach us how to Claude code and Warp and Supabase? And I'm like, I do. Let me find it. How does this work? Do you want to meet online? You want to meet in person? Do you want to blah, blah, blah? Would you pay for it? And we figure it out, and then we stand it up. So as an infrastructure, right, as Echo, as the infrastructure, that should be my job, is making sure that we create those opportunities, right? We create the space for it to happen. We make it easy for everybody. And then also that there's value. So one thing we're testing out, and I'm happy to you can reach out to me anytime. I can share what we're learning as we go. But I'm also playing around with this idea that the members themselves, so similarly, we hire our own members. Hey, anybody a graphic artist? That happened yesterday. A member walked in, talked to several people in the room. Is there a graphic artist in Echo? There were 2 sitting in the room who got something done for that founder right then. So the graphic artist got paid $125 to go get some vector files. It was just done. It was done. So the other thing I like about it is that we're going to start vetting each other, right? So now we know we could trust this graphic artist because they're always here. We've seen their work. They're nice to everybody. So we're starting to vet. And then it just becomes this little engine in the circular value. It's going to be a blast. I can't wait for you to come here and come hang out. And then I can't wait for your clubhouse.
I can't wait. I will make my way down. Absolutely, 100%. I'll let you know when I'm in town.
Yes.
But this clubhouse idea really has evolved over time. I didn't like it. And I really, a lot of input from our friend Eric Parker down in Augusta, right? He started his organization, called it the Clubhouse. And I've learned a lot from Eric, working with him and alongside him over the past couple of years, and sitting on the SCN board with him and helping with the Augusta SCN Summit, where I got to go experience all this firsthand. I'm actually going to Augusta next week. I'm flying Wednesday to Augusta to hang out with Eric and crew, and we're going to go do some cool stuff around Georgia.
That's amazing. I feel like there's probably a lot of threads that we can pull at here around this concept of just one thing you said, Anjanette, is we never do a program that someone doesn't ask for. And I feel like a lot of times in economic development or in entrepreneurship center or grants, it's like the grants or the money or the whatever's driving all the programming. When it's like the entrepreneur's like, no, I just need this thing, right? Or I don't want to jump through all these hoops, or I already did that with 6 other organizations. Why do I have to do this again? Just to get get access to the thing that I really need. And so I think this user-driven approach of Echoes was really unique. It was something that really attracted me to it. And I think the other part of it is it's not just you mentioned pipeline, right? You're doing this not just for adults, right? You're doing it for youth and kids. And the pipeline truly isn't just okay, start a company to exit a company. It's start a company when you're young, exit, start, exit, start, exit. And by the time they're older, they might have 3 to 4 companies under their belt, or at least have been a part of a team or seen it. It's a full pipeline. So can you maybe talk about just that youth to adult side of the pipeline, and how did you get there? And I think the big question is, does it work?
Yeah, it's actually a little bit of our origin story. So if we kind of scroll back a little bit to 2022, so I was new to the Triangle area. I spent most of my career in Dallas, Texas, and I had an educational advocacy center, developed some software, had a brick and mortar space, and moved here right before the pandemic, and pandemic hit. And then in 21, I took over for a youth entrepreneurship program. It was an after school program, kind of like School of Rock, but for entrepreneurs. And it was very STEM startup focused. And I had a little bit of runway. I was doing some consulting, and the founder asked, hey, I've graduated college, I got to go work for this consulting group, and this little project has some legs. Would you take over? So I did. And as we were building that and really looking at opportunities, so it was less about really helping a kid, here's your first fintech or here's your first, right? It was less about that and more about exploration and experience. And along the way, we had some stakeholders and some angel investors, some people in the community that were aware of our program, as well as an adult program that was working largely with what we call force founders or necessity-driven entrepreneurs. And we could see a little bit of a potential pipeline there. We were looking at some data with the youth, and majority of our youth that have been coming through the program for those last maybe 4 cohorts, they were all mostly qualifying for a free and reduced lunch. And so they could have been, if we really made the jump to like the adults and these force founders and necessity-driven entrepreneurs, they could have been their children. They weren't necessarily they weren't the children, but they could have been. So what would it look like if we were watching the data on the adult side, and most of the founders were women, a lot of founders were immigrants or people of color, and they were entering into entrepreneurship largely at the lowest barrier of entry, right? And then I looked at the youth, and the youth are coming in and they're pitching ideas that would be fintech or ed tech or bio, life sciences, but they didn't call it that. And it made me think too, like when I had my educational advocacy center in Dallas and we developed the software, and that software, a charter school picked that up, so it got acquired, and I exited, and I didn't know any of those words. I didn't know that that's what I was doing and that I was a startup founder, or all the things. So could we support youth and young people with some education? What does it mean to be an entrepreneur? What are all the different ways you can be an entrepreneur, right? Could you have a lifestyle business? Could you have a life cycle business? Could you have a small growth business? Like, what are all the ways? How could you capital stack, right? How do you do a little bit of this, a little bit of that? Maybe you are in a profession and you do other things. How do we expose them through some education, through some exposure? Let's put you in cool rooms with cool people doing cool stuff, right? So you get to meet some people that are doing some things. And then let's stand up some experiences for you. So this has been in the last 3 years where Echo is able to stand up an experience that we can hire teens and they get to lead the project. They actually own that venture, and then they lead it, and they lead it through the outreach and the partnerships and the project tracking, the budgeting, the impact reporting, if that's required, the media, the storytelling. And what we're watching now, to your point, is that it's working because we're seeing our youth support some of our adults, right? The graphic artist that I mentioned, she's a student at Guilford College here, and she has been with Echo since 8th grade. And she solved that problem for that founder who was an adult founder and in our program.
That's super cool.
So it's working. And we're watching, of course, it's easy for our adults to kind of pour into our youth. One more quick little anecdote. So last weekend, I think it was, there was an entrepreneur. She's now she's a student at UNC Chapel Hill. She's a Robertson Scholar. She was at one of our summer camps back in 2024 as a high school student. And our summer camp was just a 1-week quick kind of sprint in like human-centered design and social innovation and what is this. And she was so inspired, reached out to us a couple of years ago. I was like, I think I want to do this, but for girls in Nigeria. Her family's from Nigeria, so she wanted to do this virtual thing. So we've kind of helped her off and on throughout the last couple of years. So a week ago, she had a 1-day summit here at Echo. Wow. And she led the whole thing. She did the fundraising. She found the facilitators. 8 of our female teen leaders led the programming and facilitated workshops. They did the outreach and did some marketing for her. 2 of our adult founders came and were keynote speakers. So it was this whole little ecosystem of this circular value of us all just kind of pouring into each other, and entrepreneurs build entrepreneurs. So I need a couple more years to have some really hard data on the economic impact, but I mean, we know it's there. We just need time to kind of build that out.
Anjanette, I always resist the urge to just the economic impact or the ecosystem of things. Um, I think one thing you hit on there that I thought was super cool about Echo is this near peer mentorship. And I think when you talk like now seeing adults now involved, like before it was,
Yeah.
you had middle schoolers and high schoolers were, leading the middle schoolers, and then you had college students leading the high schoolers, and then, your young adults leading the college students. And now to like kind of complete that full life cycle or where now you have adults involved and now they're all interacting in the same space
Yeah.
has been one of my favorite parts, because I think the question is like, all right, an adult leading a middle school or a high school is a very different experience than a college student. They can understand culturally where they're at, and also there's just a whole, I don't know, a whole level. And it makes sense when you hear it, but then when you see it, I mean, it's another level. And I remember seeing it at the first mental health innovation sprint at Durham Bottling Co. when I first
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah.
moved there. Yeah. Richard, I know you all are doing quite a bit, or you're trying to maybe kickstart high school in upstate New York. How's that going? And any like, I'd be curious, now that I got the two of you in the room, to maybe kind of share lessons or share questions around how high school and youth entrepreneurship is going.
Yeah, thanks, Austin. It's been a long journey to reignite youth entrepreneurship across New York State. Prior to COVID, we had a very robust high school business plan competition that was organized by one of our local Albany area economic development organizations, but it was statewide, and we had participation from schools as far as Buffalo out west, folks down in New York City and Long Island. And North Bergen, New Jersey always sent the team to the New York State high school business plan competition. It was so funny. And COVID made that go away, right? But the impacts of that stayed with me. And it mirrors and parallels my experience. I got started in high school with a program due junior achievement down in New York City. They came and brought mentors, and we put together a business plan and an idea and a startup and pitched and went to the next round and picked up Google's New York City headquarters. It was so cool. And so that's why I supported that this program in high school. When I was in college, really is when I started supporting this high school program that was kind of centered around Albany. We brought all the kids over and they competed every year. And so from that, I have seen a lot of amazing impacts from the students that went through that program. And now it's like 10 years removed from that. And one of the stories I always tell is one of my students that participated and won first place for a year. I helped start the entrepreneurship club at her school where she had this opportunity to participate. It's not really about winning, it's really about what you learn along the way. And so he was making this, physical therapy device, this glove that you could adjust at home at the doctor's direction for physical therapy for your hand. Really cool. Made the prototype, tested it, went to doctors, did the whole customer discovery piece. Loved it, gave it first place, but really, Salome is her name. He then went on after this experience, graduated high school, went to Georgetown, was doing her undergrad degree, and then COVID happened. So she moved back to Ukraine to be with her family during COVID, everything was shut down. And then the war happened, right? And so she was finishing her senior year of Georgetown from a bomb shelter. And
Wow.
the resilience and capacity is amazing. And from there, she applied from a bomb shelter to Stanford for her MBA. She gets a call that she has been accepted as a Knight Hennessy Scholar, full ride to Stanford. They loved her. They wanted
Wow.
her. They moved her all out. They moved her out to Stanford, and that's where she is today. Along that journey, however, because of her initial experience in both high school and entrepreneurship program, she was inspired to start her own company. She met a co-founder in Ukraine, started a company that makes apps for funded startups, Series A plus, real product, straight to production, using her team from all around Europe, especially Ukraine. And so she had built up this team of a couple dozen folks working with them. And she helped relocate a bunch of them from Western Ukraine to Eastern Ukraine when this was happening. So not only
Wow.
did she start the startup, she had a big team who was like taking care of her people. And she's been doing this for a while. And so throughout the years, they grew this. They supported all their people. They never let anyone go when times were tough. And they stayed loyal to her and her team, the company. And so they have built over 200 products for companies. And those companies have used those products to raise over $300 million. And her
Wow.
first touch point was in a high school youth entrepreneurship program.
Amazing. Yeah.
And so that's why I feel the need to bring something like that back, right, to New York State. New York State has the largest and best college level, collegiate level, intercollegiate business plan competition, where you give away over $100,000 a year non-diluted to college students. And nothing exists right now for high school students. And so I've been working really hard to bring partners together across the state and national partners who have done this in other states to come and support and bring that back. And so I'm committing to next year, next end of school year, May or June, something will happen, even if I have to like run the event myself to get some local high schools to send some companies to compete in that competition and do some education. But hopefully it's much larger and statewide.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, it's those types of stories, and we have. I mean, Austin, you'll remember Michelle, who
That's what I was
won the
thinking
Health and
of.
Wellness. Yeah, so she's actually going to be in town on Tuesday, and she's going to come and speak to our current Youth Advisory Council, which are our high school leads who are paid interns who run our program for the high schoolers. So Michelle, she's a Harvard student as a first gen, and they're on a full ride. And that really started that journey of her kind of envisioning herself as a potential founder, or being able to see herself moving out of Durham as first gen to Harvard, came from her experience with ECHO. It didn't mean everything, but it meant a lot. I mean, she caught the attention of our mayor at that mental health and wellness sprint. She connected her at Duke for a summer experience. It connected her to, so it just, we know how this ripple or this echo, like we know how it works. That's an incredible story. I love hearing that, because too, everybody who kind of touches, right, this student, this young woman, or even our Michelle, the people that kind of engage with are kind of picking up on, right, that being ready for opportunity, that resilience, that, right, asking for support, thinking you could get into Stanford or you could get into Harvard. That's inspiring, and makes it a little bit easier for the rest of us to go, oh, maybe I could do that too.
Yeah, I think for me, when I met Michelle, and then so many of Echo's youth since then, it's like just like how impressive and capable and like fearless youth entrepreneurs are, right? Like you have an adult go through a startup weekend, and like me, I can tell you all the reasons not to go forward with an idea. I will talk myself out of an idea much faster than I thought about the idea. Whereas like with youth, it's the other way around. And they're fearless. Like I remember mentoring one of the Echo youth who was like, I'm going to create solar powered cars. And it's like, all right, let's go. Like, let's talk about it. Like, how are we going to get there? And, are their numbers skewed sometimes? Maybe, but like, I think that the fearlessness, yes, right.
But they've learned about that,
and the
like
tenacity,
yes,
exactly.
yes.
It's part of the process, and I think to me, the more we've had adults involved in youth entrepreneurship with Echo, like it just unlocks. And I mean, I've seen adults get unstuck because they see the possibility and the approach and the mindset of youth. And so that's been, I think, one of my favorite parts is just like seen, in so many communities, youth entrepreneurship is a very separate program than adult entrepreneurship. And yeah, there's like I've heard all the reasons, right, of safety, and I think Echo, you all have done a really good job of keeping youth safe in that process. But what I've seen more so is the benefit by having youth with adults together, and entrepreneurship programs, and the transformation that happens when youth first come into the program to later on. And so I have names that like come to mind for Echo, of just like my very first event. You have a kid who just like won't make eye contact, barely will say anything, and if so, it's so quiet. And now he's DJing Echo events as a vendor of Echo, and like just putting himself out there, and so talented. And that was what, over the course of 2.5, 3 years. And just seeing that huge change in the confidence, and he's running a business now, right? And so just
He
seeing
bought a
possible.
car. He bought a car.
That's amazing.
He bought his own car, being a DJ. He's gonna be a senior next year.
Incredible.
Yeah. One thing we've been doing, Richard, that it's been a hard nut to crack too, because it's one of the things that motivates me as an educational consultant in a former life and a business owner, but thinking about just this massive, large system that is our educational system, and it's just outdated. I know it's very frustrating to be working on the inside as a teacher, as an administrator, on kind of how outdated it is. It's not relevant to how we move through our lives. And being able to maybe insert a little bit into and support a school. So being able to pull this business plan pitch, or we've been engaging with career technology education programs, which is like an actual program within our school districts, which there are different pathways that the students can explore. So we've been working with like, how could Echo be kind of this private partner to support your CTE kids to explore not only entrepreneurship, but maybe we could be exploring life sciences, fintech, edtech. We could be exploring that, but through the lens of some of our founders, our adult founders. So we are actually going to pilot robotics founders. We have a founder who's built this robotics workshop. So it's a very easy hydrobot that you can put together, but he uses the workshop to teach STEM and engineering to young children, so elementary age children. So he does these workshops at like Boys and Girls Clubs and YMCAs, and sometimes at schools, but he's only one person. So he's finding that he's now kind of tapped. So he came to me, he said, how could I scale this? And could I scale it with teenagers, with your kids, with your teens? And I was like, I don't know. We probably could. So we wrote a grant together, and we received some funding to pilot. So we're going to hire 10 high school students that are part of the career technology education programming. They will come here to earn credits toward graduation, to learn about not just the hydrobot, but learning about entrepreneurial mindset, learning about human-centered design, so we will teach that class. And then this founder will teach them how to facilitate his workshops, and then we'll test it out in the spring, and they'll go deliver it. And everybody gets paid. The students are going to get paid. This founder is going to get paid for his intellectual property, for his product, for his time. Everybody gets paid. And then what's going to happen to those 10 kids that get to work together to figure it out? I don't know if they'll ever build a robot or build that type of, but I do know all the positives that are going to come out of that, in just a sense of agency and advocacy as they move through the rest of high school and young adulthood.
Yeah, programs like these, unlike adult programs that are designed to be incubators or accelerators or business boot camps, for students, it is not about the end result. It is not about the company.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic if you are successful and your company takes off and you go and change the world. We love that so much. But for everyone else and all the other students who end up doing it and it becomes a student project and something that they have done that does not take off, for them, it is about the learning opportunity and the education and the experience, right? It's personal development, professional development, entrepreneurial development. And now everyone is a winner, because even if your company does not go and make $1 billion or even $1, you have learned things that you will take with you for the rest of your life. And
Yep.
reframing it in that way helps everyone, including the students, understand that their company, their business idea does not need to be successful for them to be successful.
Right. And it's workforce development, which is what the schools and the way, just because, again, it's a large system, it takes a long time to kind of steer that ship, but that's not happening, right? So there's this workforce development and these performance indicators and what we used to call soft skills. All of that is being built through this, whether or not this, the solar powered cars takes off or not. That young man is still with the program, and he still kind of plays around with all his different ideas, just the fact that
Yep.
he's still part of it and leads the program now, that is
Awesome.
as valuable as a solar power car venture.
Yes.
Yeah.
The students, right? They learn all these things, and at the end of the day, they become better students. They become better eventual business owners and entrepreneurs if they choose to, better employees if they end up working for another company, and they're just better humans generally. And I love that so much.
One last thing I'll add to that too, with like the young people that we're working with most of the time, one of the things that I love to watch, and when we have that second part, that exposure, right? So we have the 3 E's, the education, exposure, and experience. So the exposure part, they are sometimes in rooms with really cool people doing cool things, including our mayor. So our mayor here in Durham is an entrepreneur. He and his wife have several different ventures. He happens to be the mayor. Many of our kids have had dinner with him. They have a cell phone in his cell phone number in their phones, but they've met with other people that, again, doing really cool things, like our Hydrobot, our StemPlug founder. These kiddos are going to feel really comfortable walking into those rooms again, right? And knowing that they have a place there. Our students have been, at the State of the City address. Our students have been at the Spark and C conference leading a breakout session. They're going to feel comfortable in rooms that might be intimidating. Certainly were intimidating to me when I was in high school, a young adult, that you're just like, I don't know, I belong here. They kind of walk in and own it and feel like they belong there. And I love that, being able to take that with you and having kind of that audacity that you need sometimes.
Anjanette, I'd be curious, for ecosystem builders that are listening, I think a lot of our listeners probably do serve more adults than youth, but might be trying to figure out, okay, how do we better engage with youth in our community? What would you say to them? Like, what's a good starting place? Where would you recommend? What are some things that they could do to start to engage with youth?
I think there's a variety of ways depending on kind of where you are and kind of your some of your targets. But I mean, this was a common thing maybe a couple of years ago here or there, but we had adults that had children that were interested in entrepreneurship. So we had adult entrepreneurs that had young adults that were also, or maybe were already helping the family out with the family business. So that's a great way to start if you are and thinking about. We've held times where we've been asked to help family businesses kind of modernize. Because they did have like young people that might take over, and maybe they didn't have the technology or some of the automation or some e-commerce. And so we've been asked to kind of help. So we've been teaching some of the youth some of those things to help the parents, like bring some of the those needs up. The other thing too, I think, is in other. If you're working with entrepreneurs and you have, and as an ecosystem builder, if you're kind of in here and you understand kind of the journey of it, what's needed, some of the soft skills, working with nonprofits that are working with youth that are building leadership skills or community development, to be able to pop in and offer, like, hey, we'd love to do a half-day sprint or a weekend hackathon, like a no-code hackathon, just do something and offer to bring that to a nonprofit. so many nonprofits would just eat that up and love that and be so thankful, to kind of get that energy. And I think that'd be the first two places that I would start if you are really working with adults. And then you reach out to your own community, like, hey, we're going to do this hackathon, or we're going to do a series of these, one-day sprints, or we're going to go in the school. I pitched to our current district, what I would love to do is get our high schools to have the same day, to have kind of these one-day design sprints at each high school. And then there would be the winners that come, and then we'd have like a semifinal and final for the district. We're not there yet, but I'll get there. And anybody who knows me knows that we will get there. I don't know when, but so something like that would be really cool too. If you have the community that would be interested in helping, expose some young people to entrepreneurship or startup space, that'd be super fun.
I like that a lot. I think locally, one thing I learned is like we have our school system, our principals are always trying to figure out ways to, like you said, expose their kids to life outside the school system and life beyond school. And so one, I think, really easy lift is periodically drop in your email communication to your community that you've built out that list as an ESO is like, hey, this month we're connected with this school and the principal's name is this, and their kids are trying to learn about this. They'd love to have someone from your business come and speak about what you do. And I think just the micro of saying, here's a school, here's the principal, and here's their email address. Like, you've taken out all the work for them to get plugged in, and you've created a really easy opportunity for them to give back to the community. And that, like, the principals, like, it's like, yes, let me talk to this teacher. Like, they will move pretty quick because they're looking for those opportunities, and you just save them a ton of work of outbound by bringing it inbound. And so I think that's also a really easy way to get involved. And then you do that enough, now you're going to start to identify the schools that are leaning in, the teachers that are leaning in, and now you can really run with that. So definitely try that. Before Richard has to go, I know you're traveling, Richard. So one thing I wanted to maybe talk through a little bit is, Anjanette, I know that you all have recently launched a 1 Million Cups chapter. And so I and with Richard just coming back from Summit, I'd be curious, as you all are organizing 1 Million Cups, what's one thing you've learned, and then what's one kind of outstanding question that you have that you're trying to figure out?
Oh my gosh, those are great questions. It's been so exciting. A little bit of a backstory. Echo agreed to help another organization stand up 1 Million Cups in the Triangle area. There had been a very active chapter pre-COVID, and then COVID kind of hit, and they tried, and it just kind of petered out. So we were asked by another group, hey, could we all do this together? Well, the other organization kind of went away, and they're like, ooh. So it ended up really falling all to Echo. So one, I am super proud that we stood this up, and it started in February, and we have not missed a week. We have not missed a week. We super proud to host an event, a partner event during Raleigh-Durham Startup Week. So we had 70 people in our room, and we had 3 founders that day presenting. So I think what I've learned is there was a lot of extra validation in a different way, that people are looking for a community. People are looking for sounding boards, people to like give them advice and not just pat them on the back or like attaboy and yeah, I really like your idea when you really don't like their idea. Like one thing that I've learned, so we started in February. We consistently have the same 25 people that are coming week after week. And then we usually have 10, 15, guests or new people coming through. But I would say a good core, about 25 people. They now all really know each other, and they trust one another, and they are giving each other like really hard feedback on, hey, I don't know that that's your customer. And now like for me, if somebody said that, so Austin knows, because Austin and I've known each other for a while, and Austin can challenge me because I know that he's not coming at me for any other reason other than out of love and I want you to succeed. And, we're on this, we have the same goals, right? But if I didn't know Austin and he was like, well, I don't, have you thought about this? Right? We're protective of our babies. We're protective of our passions and our ideas and everything that we've poured into it. So that's been an amazing kind of find, is that this community showing up over and over again and really pouring into each other. That's been exciting. What was the other question? The challenge?
I'll give I'll give Richard a chance to react, because Richard, I know that kind of consistent community that's engaged at such a deep level is something that you all have really fostered in upstate Albany, Troy. I don't know what you would call your old chapter.
Yeah, it's Capital Region, right? It used to be one of the Albany, and Albany was not the right name for it because here locally there is a silo issue with 4 different cities that all are big enough to claim an identity, and I'm sure this is familiar to a lot of people, right? And so instead of Raleigh Durham or just Raleigh or just Durham or whatever, it's like Capital Region to us is Triangle to you. And we can't be Albany, Forest, Connecticut, Saratoga region. The Capital Region is our word. And I specifically asked HQ to change that name for us. And so that is the official name, 1 Million Cups Capital Region. And it is magical, right? It is the place where the community gets together and self-select into a community that wants to support each other. I really have started recently calling it Entrepreneurship Club. Think about high school, think about college. A club meets weekly. The members care about each other. They are part of something bigger than themselves. So it's not just a weekly event, right? And they want to help each other and support each other and be there for each other, regardless of who the presenter is. Like, half these people come and have no idea who the presenter is.
Yeah.
And they take these new folks into the community and welcome them because of the shared identity, because they are here to support. And so we do have a lot of our presenters come from the community who have been attendees, who now present, who then maybe become organizers. And so that flywheel is working really well.
Yes.
And even though 1 Million Cup Capital Region has been around for 11 years, we celebrated 11 years June this year, there are really 3 distinct eras of 1 Million Cups. And it really was before COVID, 2015 to 2020. And that ran really well. It was a set of organizers before me that started it. I got involved in 2017 because I was an intern at an accelerator program in town. And my boss said yes to having them use our space every Wednesday, which meant the intern had to set up all the chairs. That's how I got them. I was like, what is this thing I hate? It stopped making me wake up at like 7 a.m. on a Wednesday to set up chairs by 8 a.m. so people can come in. Then I fell in love with it. And we just had a full circle moment because we outgrew our venue recently and went downstairs to our makerspace. And the community room is configured like a classroom setup with tables and chairs. And this past week, we had so many attendees that we had to pull in extra chairs and ran out of floor space. And so I talked to the staff at the makerspace and I was like, hey, will you guys configure the room for us? Or do we have to send someone down to configure the room for us? And they go, no, typically, whoever uses the space does that and then returns the room to the thing. And so now we will have chamber staff / chamber interns. We partner with our local chamber of commerce. So Rensselaer Chamber is a great partner in this. And so now chamber interns will take on the tradition of setting up the room for us.
I love it.
10 years later, 11 years later.
Tradition is the right word for that.
So the eras are really start to before COVID. That worked well. We had many good organizers, many good community members, many good presentations, all of the above. Then the second era of that is COVID until like last year. It was like COVID, then what, right? It was like COVID affected change. We went virtual. Everyone burned out virtual. We tried to come back in person. Wasn't really successful. Up and down there. And we took a winter break. End of last year, November, December is 2025. Regrouped. And in regrouping was literally myself as the organizer, the lead organizer by default because I survived the longest. And Lucas, who is the vice president of our chamber, who I asked to come on at the start of 2025 to partner. We really needed someone to come support and an organizational partner, and the chamber has been fantastic. They provide space, they brew the coffee, they make sure all the swag is set up, they make sure the room is good, the banners are out, they send the emails, and they send all the social media, and I cannot do it without them, right? And so we did that, ad hoc in 2025, and they could only support once a month, so we only did it monthly. So we took winter break. And we're like, what are we going to do? We took an extended winter break. We didn't come back till March 6th this year. And we committed to, we're going to do weekly, we're going to grow the community, and we're going to bring on new organizers. And that consistency really helped. And so we relaunched, for all intents and purposes, the One Million Cups Capital Region chapter this year in March with like 5 to 7 attendees and a presentation that I pulled in as a favor because he was my mentee through this executive mentorship program, Frank. And over time, we grew that community. And right now, we have an average of 25 attendees every week, with an average growth of 5 to 7 new attendees that stick around every month. And so we have a positive trajectory, both in growth and also like this acceleration in growth as we grow. And so we will outgrow this makerspace community room, I anticipate by the end of the year. And then we'll move them to Max Q, my new space that I'm building, which will host 75 people. And it's been awesome. We have 9 very active organizers, everyone leading a specific role. So I've been able to fire myself, is the funny term I use, but hand off things like coaching. We have a lead coach who has a process, right? And does coaching for us primarily. We have Frank, who is our first presenter, leading pipeline and making sure that we are on top of filling out this presenter pipeline. Presenter advocate is what I call him. And this happened, he jumped on board early June because I had to try to convince him to be an organizer. He's like, I don't know about this. And I finally got him with, hey, look, this is your excuse for you to go talk to small businesses and entrepreneurs and nonprofits so that you can meet them and also support them with your services. He does custom software. He's like, okay, fine. And at that point, we were still pulling in, like, who is presenting next week? Or can you come do a favor and present with us? And within 24 hours, he found us a presenter for the next week. And within 3 weeks, we were filled out for a month. And now we are filled out for a presenter pipeline until October.
Whoa, awesome. Yay. That's awesome.
And then everyone else with their specific roles, we also set up non-traditional roles too. We have someone, Garrett, who is taking care of like software and automation. We are automating workflows. We have head of community type person who like is in charge of community growth, and Sandra does that. We have a couple marketing type people, and I've slotted them, and they have slotted themselves into specific roles. So Hannah is like head of marketing strategy, and Khalif is like head of content, which is like different. Khalif shoots videos and takes pictures. Hannah tries to figure out how do we grow on social media and grow the marketing. Sandra grows the attendees, so everyone has their specific roles, and it's like really good that we know what we're doing. And so we're going to continue to build on that. So hopefully by January 1st, I can like officially graduate from being lead organizer and pass that along and go do something else with the knowledge that this thing will continue growing. And so that's really exciting. Let's see. That's us. Sorry. I got excited.
That's amazing. I mean, a pivot and a refresh, that's hard. That's really hard. When we launched in February, we did have for maybe the first 4 or 5, maybe 8 weeks, we had people coming that were part of the RTP 1 Million Cups, like the one that had kind of, fizzled. and we weren't the same. We weren't in the same location. It wasn't the same organizers. It was a different, crowd even that was used to like who we were in Echo. And it was uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable for them and their expectations. So I was nervous. I definitely was nervous at first 2 months of like, are we going to build into a kind of a consistent crowd? Because these guys that were thinking we were something else and now they're back, they also weren't offering to help, by the way. So I was glad that they were like, oh, this isn't for us, and they moved on. So we could kind of build the community that worked for the people who were showing up. But that, I mean, kudos. That's hard to do, to
Thank you.
pivot,
Angela,
refresh.
so crazy. I mean, I'm so fortunate that we have a team of folks that are super willing. We're all volunteers. We are all volunteers, and we all contribute because we care, right? And I'm so fortunate that I have been able to attract and retain some of the best people that I know to do this with, and I cannot do it without them. But I do have a question for you, right? Your community seems to be doing well now. Tell me, when did you know it was going to work? What was that moment that you were like, oh, this community and this 1 million cups thing will not just go away. This will work. And I have a story for that as well.
Okay. So I think that I love that question because I know exactly when. The first like little hint was that Raleigh Durham Startup Week, because we were fairly new. Maybe we had 8 weeks so far. And Raleigh Durham Startup Week is a big deal in the area. It's 3,000 people throughout the week. People love it. It is a thing. And we put it on like, hey, this is a partner org. We weren't even part of the regular schedule. We were just a morning thing. And we did not have enough chairs. It was standing room only, people lined up against the wall. And I was like, oh, this is a thing. I think this is it. And a lot of social capital. People were just lovely. Like, this was great. Thank you. I handpicked who was going to present during Raleigh Durham Startup Week to make sure that we, built some of that social capital. The big answer, though, came in the move. So we moved from our location that we'd been at, and people were used to for a couple months, but a lot of the people who were coming were used to us being there for years. And we moved, and we really had like 45 days. We started telling people, we're going to be moving. And we moved on a Friday. So we had a 1 million cups on a Wednesday. We moved on May 16th. I know, because that's my birthday. So we moved on May 16th. And then the following Wednesday, we had 1 million cups. And people showed up. And it was the same people. There were a couple people who got lost and forgot, but people were there, and we haven't missed a beat. So that was it. I was like, well, and I was worried for a while. I was worried about like, do we have enough volunteers? Do we have the automations? Is this on a tracker anywhere? Like, who's ordering those swag? Like, just really nervous about standing it up. And I just don't. I have no worries. And this is calm. It's a blast. It's one of my favorite things that we do. I don't plan any outside meetings on Wednesdays. We have our event, which we usually go to like 10:30 because people don't show up on time. We don't start on time. Don't tell don't tell Kaufman. We kind of go, but people stay in our space for hours, and people are talking and connecting and grabbing lunch. And so I've learned I do not set any meetings outside of Echo. It's really just for the people that are here, and people stay until 2, 3, 4 o'clock. So we've made it like our free day, kind of that free space in the bingo card. So Wednesdays are a free day. Anybody's welcome. Come to 1 million cups and just stay all day. And it's been tremendous.
We started doing that as well. Wednesday is our days in Troy, where we host the million cups. And folks come 8:30, 8:45, grab coffee. We start at 9. We end officially at 10. I still am, as of this past week, the primary MC, which I am passing along to other folks who want opportunities to speak. But I always do a 10 o'clock time check and say, hey, it's 10 o'clock. If anyone needs to run, now's the time. And then folks keep chatting. Like in 20 minutes, they're still asking questions. And then like then the formal program ends and people stand up and they keep hanging out. And then there's usually a group that goes a block over to grab some coffee. They may end up there working, or we have a tradition where we do co-working time. We all co-work together at a local new co-working space that started up, that came and presented. This was actually Frank's first presenter. He kind of pulled in. I called him on a Thursday on my way back from the Syracuse town hall, and I was like, Frank, we need a presenter for next week. And it was the Thursday. And that night, he had met James, the owner of the new co-working space. And he's like, I got someone like that night. And then James became part of the community. He had started and sold a bar to the software guy. He's like building co-working spaces and like the I'm getting off tangent here, but really cool, like co-working in a box. So any like space owner can turn it into a co-working space. So their model is like software layer on top of co-working spaces is what he's really building as a startup. So we like to support him. We go to hang out with them. But after that, folks grab lunch and then they co-work for a bit. And this group that spawned out of 1 Million Cups and Star Tech Valley, which is our pitch night. Star Tech Valley is our homegrown pitch night. Frank and Garrett and Luigi and a couple of the other software guys, they started 518 Codes, a group for software developers, engineers, anyone interested. If 1 Million Cups is Entrepreneurship Club, 518 Codes is Software Club, right? And they got the domain 518.codes and they built the website and it looks so good. Austin, you should show that. It looks so good. But 518 Codes hosts happy hour on Wednesdays from 5:30, 6 o'clock until late, until whenever at a local bar. And they're being consistent. It's there every Wednesday. It's at that bar. And 1 Million Cups doesn't have to host it, but the people that we were able to gather, right? The table we were able to build and people we were able to bring to the table, they have done things and they continue to do things. And so look at that website. It is so cool.
That
Look
is
at that
fun.
map.
I like that.
Right?
Love it.
That's
To register
super
for the
nice.
website, you have to use their command line.
That's hilarious. That's awesome. No event scheduled. Host.
They need to update that.
That's
They're actually
super
doing something today, Friday, some sort of like software meet and greet. So I'll let them know. But
That's
the
super cool.
moment I knew that our thing, our relaunch, our 1 Million Cups was going to work and was going to be magic was April 15th is the day. Austin, do you remember where we were on April 15th?
April 15th. I'm like, that was tax day.
It was.
So were we in
on tax
Chicago?
day? We're in Chicago. Austin and I were hanging out, eating Illuminati's in Chicago and go to Stan's Donuts and hanging out at the MBIA Chicago, event.
Yeah, I remember that.
Were you there?
No, but I knew, so I had met people from MBIA and was just jealous. It was just FOMO. I wanted to go because Austin told me he was going to go. So it was just FOMO because I
So
love
you gotta
that word.
go.
Yeah.
Oh my God, go to eBuilders. I'll see you in October for eBuilders. You gotta come to SCN Summit. You gotta come hang out. I feel like you're the boss now, right? Like I feel like CEO means chief I do whatever I want officer.
I am working on the executive board to get Anjanette a SCN membership.
Great.
And so see if we can get her into SCN.
Amazing. So I get a text. I'm reading it right now from my friend Amanda Kirk. April 15th, Wednesday, 9:53 a.m. She goes, LOL, I showed up today at 1MC. Because she saw my LinkedIn, she saw my whatever. We actually hadn't chatted much. We hadn't talked in like a year or two, actually. And she reached out. I knew her from way long ago. And she is a games producer, produces games, worked for a ton of big companies, including Epic, got laid off by Epic. She was in charge of like Fortnite.com. She was in charge of like Rocket League, all that fun stuff. And she's like, I'm looking for a new job. So when I might have like caught up with her for coffee before that, told her about 1 Million Cups. And she's like, I'll show up when I can. So she showed up the week I wasn't there. The same week that one of our presenters actually had to cancel on us with 24 hours of notice, less than 24 hours of notice the night before. And we were thinking about canceling, sending out a notice. We just couldn't get it done in time. We actually didn't cancel. And I go, I'm in Chicago and our presenter canceled. How was it? And she texted back. She's like, I loved it, period. I got there late and was lost. So I asked the guy at the chamber, and Lucas was in a meeting at the same time. So she asked Lucas for help. He apologized. I asked to see the room so it wouldn't get lost next time. There were 3 guys there already. And then like later she told me, like, this isn't 1 Million Cups. Like, these guys are just hanging out. They're in the conference room. This is not it. And it turned out like 3 people showed up to 1 Million Cups. So completely opposite from your community where your room was packed and you knew it was going to work. I knew this was going to work because these 3 people were there. And without knowing Amanda, without knowing her background and who she is, they invited her to sit down, hang out with them, talk to her about what she needed. And her not being an entrepreneur, not starting a business, looking for a job in games, they supported her, made connections, gave her ideas, and took her in as one of our own in our community.
Yeah.
Because that was the community we started fostering, right? And so, you know, a month later, she got a job as a senior games producer in town.
Wow.
And she keeps coming back to 1 Million Cups. And that's a story I hear from her. And I heard from her that told me that this thing was going to work because we built something special at the core of it, fundamentally, with our entrepreneurs, supporting entrepreneurs and supporting the community.
Yeah, it's special. I love that.
That's entrepreneurs building entrepreneurs right there. Maybe.
That's it.
Well, I know there's a lot of other directions that we can take this conversation. But before we go down any other route, I do want to ask you a question that we ask every one of our guests, and take this moment. I feel like as we transition into wherever the conversation will take us. Anjanette, how do you define an ecosystem builder or ecosystem building? What is ecosystem building to you?
What it is now compared to what I thought it was, it is the community that we serve, or the community that is engaging with us. The ecosystem is the small business owner, the jewelry maker, the food trucker, the app builder. That's the ecosystem. And so building, if we think then, what does that mean to build? It's that kind of like community first, right? It's placing some of the decision-making power in their hands. What services do you need? What resources do you need? What would help you grow? What's not working? What is working? Anybody in the room fix it? So to me, that's what I've learned. What I thought it was more was, kind of this kind of top down, which we do that a lot in systems. And even just in business, a lot of kind of top down and, I think I have the solution. And I knew that wasn't working. Even when we start thinking about then connecting the actual systems, right? And connecting the chamber and the banks to an ESO, to a service provider, like connecting the web, it really is best served if we're thinking about the ecosystem being the entrepreneurs and the small business owners first.
I love that you had the shift, right? Like I thought it was this, over time, I realized it's this. And to me, having witnessed it, like it is clearly working, right? Like that shift and the results of that is definitely working, of taking the user-driven approach. I have some upcoming questions, but Richard, I want to give you the chance if you have any prior to whatever life's adventure is up next for you.
I run on RST, Richard Standard Time. So I'm gonna hang out. I'm good for a
Okay.
while because
That's awesome.
I love
I
Richard
can.
Standard Time. I'm stealing that. I'm stealing Anjanette Standard
ASD.
Time. ASD.
And the other reason being, one of the founders I came to New York City with, where I'm sitting right now, he's on a call. So we were going to do stuff together, but he's
Wait.
like on a call right over there.
There he is.
And I'm hanging out. Right. Cute little coffee
Cool.
shop.
Cute little coffee shop.
Yeah, that's super cute.
This is Joe Coffee.
Nice.
So I'm good to hang out. So whatever you want to do.
All right. Well, I think, next question, Anjanette, you kind of mentioned at the beginning, right? Which is Echo's been taking kind of the shift into a community membership model. And, with any shift, it's scary. But like, what led you to do the shift? And then how's it going? Or maybe even describe what the shift is. And then, how's it going? And what have you learned along the way?
Thank you. I mean, I think if we think about that origin story of, two organizations kind of coming together, one thing that we were, within a year, I was asked to lead and I was asked to become CEO. So that was the end of 23, early 24. And so kind of really thinking, why did we do this? Why did we merge? What do we want to be when we grow up? What would legacy look like what would impact really look like? And spending some time actually talking to people that were in the community, either, other ESOs, other service providers, chambers, and then talking to entrepreneurs, some of those same questions, right? So that was also, I think, kind of that shift in my thinking around just being an ESO and providing a program. So we used to provide a program for our adults. It was like a 10-week program. We'd run it 4 times a year. And then everybody who went through the program would have some one-on-one coaching free for a year. And what we found was that it worked-ish. It was helpful. Mm-hmm. The curriculum was good. It was pretty standard. A lot of people use, kind of like a business plan type of curriculum. We know the magic is in the cohort. The magic is in the people that are in the room and the connections that are happening and all of that, just that networking that happens and the cheerleading and accountability that happens in a cohort. But people launching businesses, sustaining businesses, really having some growth, we didn't really have any great data on, if that was really working. So talking to people, I really spent most of 24 trying to figure out if we were going to exist and we were going to have this pipeline, what's missing in the conversation, what's missing in the ecosystem, and how could Echo fill a gap? And that's kind of how we came to, first we kind of came to this entrepreneurs building entrepreneurs, watching the cohort magic, watching even my own experience as an entrepreneur without ever calling myself an entrepreneur or all those things. Any progress that I made often was because somebody either purposefully walked me toward a resource and said, here's this resource, right? Or unknowingly helped me, right? Just some offhanded comment. So could we mechanize that, right? It rarely was the class I took or rarely the deck that, or a workshop that I went to. It was the people. Mm-hmm. Then thinking about, several of our ESOs around the country and certainly Echo. So we're a 501c3, we're a nonprofit. And really kind of evaluating the data there. What was our history in giving? Certainly in the current climate, what's happening in giving and philanthropy. As a nonprofit, we're rarely somebody's first, second, or third choice for a donation, right? There are pressing matters that may need donations more than, including someone's church or their university, as well as dogs and kittens and kids that are sick, right? So how could we be sustainable as a business? Yes, we're a 501c3, but we're not really a traditional charity. So how could we actually think about this as a business? And I was already doing that anyway. I was doing customer discovery for a year. I was doing some validation. I shared with people recently, we did not make the jump. We did not open a YMCA for entrepreneurs and a membership model and a link for people to join and pay until I knew I had clients. I knew I had people that would join us, right? And now I can test that out. And it's all based on kind of just the feedback that we were getting, that people were getting lost in handoffs, people were getting lost in duplicative and redundant programming. We had people going to all kinds of things that were all in this early phase, and good stuff run by good people with all, like, everything's well-meaning, but it was all kind of fragmented. And so I'm hoping that at some point Echo becomes, even for the larger community of providers and chamber, we just become a space that everybody knows is the community hub for entrepreneurship. And we're just the infrastructure. I'm removed out of it. It's just kind of led by the people, and the people get to ask, like, hey, could this happen here? Could we have an incubator? I'm like, cool. Who else in the ecosystem, right? Which one of you, ESOs would like to run an incubator? Because we have the infrastructure, like we're already doing the thing. That's what I'm hoping for. Yeah. It's interesting too. And you've been part of this. You've been part of a lot of it, right? It's 24 is really when we kind of started to really lean in and think about it. You and I writing, a couple big grants around this idea of user-centered, some systems thinking, and, the EBE concept. So I'm really excited to test it out and fail, like which we have. The very first person so we had somebody that wanted to sign up before we were even really ready to launch the membership model. We had the launch, as you know, like, hey, become a founding member. We wanted 30 to 50 people that really kind of put their handprints and footprints in Echo and be a founding member and be part of designing where we go next. And this woman wanted to join. I barely knew her. I'd met her at a couple of things, and she's like, I'm ready to join. I didn't have a QR code for her. I was like, I don't have a QR code yet. So we've done a lot of things. We're standing it up as we build it. We're standing it up, and I'm just really excited to kind of try something out, fail, learn from it, try again, all in the effort of having just a deeper impact, a little bit more significant impact in somebody's ability to kind of grow and sustain.
One thing that I love there is that you are running this in the same way that you are coaching your entrepreneurs to run the business.
So true.
And I think that's so easy to forget to do and it becomes this do what I say, not what I do. But you are literally like, you spent so much time doing customer discovery, and from the board's perspective, anytime the board had the question, it wasn't, oh, Anjanette's idea, right? It was like, all right, data. Talk to this person. Here are the here's this data, and I think it is a new thing, right? It's a new approach. As we said at the beginning, it's not co-working, right? It is the community driving community value, and it's just totally different. It's totally new. And so for you to be able to say, like, I know it's new. I know we're going to have questions. Here's the data. I know it's new. I know you have questions. Come to this event. I know it's new. I know you have questions, and it's different. Here's this thing. And just to be able to continue to have the conviction because you validated it. And I feel like from my perspective of, now being pretty far removed, quite literally, of what the membership looks like, or what that feels like. You still do a really good job of storytelling. And I think that storytelling is part of the membership success to date, because it's not just, hey, here's a membership you're going to sign up for, you're going to pay monthly, and the benefits. It's, hey, let me tell you the story of this member, and you even said at the beginning of this talk, and by the way, you were on vacation. This membership worked while you were gone. And I think that to me is like even more proof and testament of the model. And so I think for our ecosystem builder listeners that are like, yeah, I'm about to lose an ARPA grant. Like, we're trying to figure out funding. Like, we got to find this thing, that's where you're at. And you've gone through the entrepreneurship model that you teach to get here. And so I just want to applaud you as your friend. And and being and seeing this happen is like way to walk the talk, and not just talking, and doing that. So that's my I'm gonna get off that little soapbox, but I am just a proud supporter of your ethos.
Thank you.
For that.
Super lucky that, again, as a nonprofit, so nonprofit has a board. So I'm super lucky that I've had a board that is largely entrepreneurs, so understand the need. I mean, we never stopped testing things out. We didn't stop, running programs or offering opportunities. We never paused. We didn't pause and think about it and do a bunch of strategy. We were kind of doing it all at the same time. But the board was really, really patient and accepting and curious and challenging on okay, maybe tell me more, convince me, okay, show me the numbers. And I certainly don't want to gloss over. This has been hard. It's hard. It's scary. Because I don't know all the answers right now. I don't know. Is this revenue stream going to be the revenue stream? Right? Is rental space going to be it? Is it going to be the membership? Am I going to have a corporate sponsor? I don't know yet. I have some gut feelings, and I could make some decent predictions, and I could just head down and work hard. But it's still kind of scary to kind of stand it up new, which I think is also very similar to a lot of the people that are walking in the door that are like, I woke up this morning terrified, and I was like, yep, same. Right there. Yep, right out of bed, oh my God, you remember, Austin, a couple of years ago when we first received ARPA funding. I mean, we had to receive a line of credit, go secure a line of credit, because it's reimbursable. So I would have to spend first, right? And we were brand new. We didn't have a lot of extra reserves. So like businesses, right? How do you figure out how to make payroll? Right? As a small business, and we were in an inflection point. We were able to grow because of that ARPA funding. But how do I make sure that happens, that we didn't, get behind an 8 ball? So I appreciate that. I appreciate that support for a long time. And then just that encouragement. And we're trying to run this like a business. Nonprofits are corporations. They need to run like a business. And it's just really cool because there are missions and values and, all of those things. And then a great board. So I have a lot of support, and advice and challenging and all the other things.
I think you, of the episode 12, I think is today, of the 12 episodes we've done, you might be our first executive director that has a formal board behind you and team, and leading an entrepreneurial organization through a wild world, a wild season of funding.
Yeah.
Or like you said, there is so much uncertainty. I'd be curious, what encouragement would you have for other ecosystem builders that might be in a similar role as you, during a time that is this?
So other like 501c3s, kind of
entrepreneurial support organizations, executive directors, leaders that are leading entrepreneurial support efforts. They might have a team. They might be trying to navigate funding like you. Any encouragement that you picked up along the way, that's been helpful.
A couple things have been really pivotal. One, 2 times in the last 3 years, I have found some kind of long-term near peer mentors. So other people doing what I'm doing. One was a group. It was this amazing cohort that we went through. I'll do a shout out with Village Capital. We were part of one of their ecosystem building cohorts. It was fantastic. It was life-changing for me and for Echo to go through that and have some peers that were not in my backyard, right? So I could have really frank conversations about, kind of my own frustrations about what was happening right now on the ground or what we were experiencing, right? And that was tremendous. And the coursework was great. There was coursework but that near peer mentor to have, Founders Forged, then they're in Tennessee, and they're a great organization in Tennessee, to have their ED kind of challenge me on a thing. And I was like, because I was going to listen to him. We'd been together for 6 months and he was doing the same work as me. That has been super. That has been one of the most pivotal things. And then I did it again, but with like a local group, but not with other leaders in the same line of work. So other nonprofit leaders or executive directors, for us to come together, so that, because again, there's some shared pain points, right? Particularly around fundraising, right. That's been so helpful. It's not even that you just need someone to like acknowledge, like, yep, I hear you, and I know it's hard, and nonprofit work is hard, blah, blah, but to actually go and kind of brainstorm, and for somebody to kind of challenge you, or like, have you thought about this, or should you try this, or for me to say, I don't know what you're talking about. What is that thing that you just said? And to feel comfortable and have that kind of vulnerability to say, I don't really know what I'm doing. Can you help me? Because we don't really get that. As it's one thing, and you know, Austin, and being a part of the board, you know, I report to the board, and I report to the board every month. We're a board because we're a young organization, so we're still meeting monthly. We haven't got to the. I just changed our whole system of how we operate. So, you know, there are people on our board. They're like, "What's EBE again?" And I'm like, "Okay, let's go back." Right. So we. And they love us, and they're super supportive, but we just change everything. So we're still monthly, but that's just a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure for a leader who's like running a thing. And then also, you know, to bring the board along, make sure that everybody's okay. Everybody understands also that the board has all the information they need to make sure I'm doing my job. It gets complicated. So to have some peers, that it's not just, you know, sit around and drink a glass of wine and, you know, and bitch about your job, but like having some people that will help you. I mean, that's also helpful. That's also nice. But,
especially with some good cheese and good wine. And
for sure. Well, Austin, you know, I'm a bourbon girl, so I just threw wine in there.
Hey, there you go.
I'm a bourbon girl. I think that's super helpful.
We need to do more roses and thorns scenarios. Are you familiar?
Yeah.
Yes. Have you been to SEN summits before?
Yes, long time ago when it was here in Durham. There was one in Durham, and
that's right. That Faye hosted.
Yep. And Faye invited me, and I went, and I met. I'm the worst with names, but I've met people who are still in SEN.
Good. Well, you should come to Richmond this fall.
Okay.
It's so fun. Okay. We'll sign you up. Austin will sign you up.
Okay.
Yep. Because this concept of peer groups and having peers who are in different places, different ecosystems, and as ecosystem builders, right? Like we don't do this enough. We always maybe for entrepreneurs, for small business owners, for professional services, for XYZ group of people. And we just never do it for ourselves, which is why Austin and I do weekly stand-ups now. We check in. And we try to do that. But I think one of our many organizations that support ecosystem building should launch one and host multiple for different types of people, because we have a shared identity and shared need. So it could be one for executive directors, managing directors, leaders of 501c3s that do this work, that answer to our board, that have members that have needs to write grants and fundraise. And it could be another one for folks like Austin and I who do this independently without a formalized role in a ESO or a nonprofit or a for-profit. And it could be another one where it's folks that do it as part of municipality and government, and then one for university, right? And so I think there is a pathway to do that, and just throwing that out into the universe. This is someone that's going to take action on that, because I'm doing a million things already that needs to exist.
I like that. Honestly, it's something I want to bring up with Ashley as we talk about, what is SEN member benefits. Like, I feel like, sometimes those types of conversations happen at a SEN summit where you connect with another ED and then you go to dinner and then you start to talk about that. But what would it look like to bring those specific groups together regularly to have those conversations where, like Anjanette said, it's like, she was able to meet with people in other regions. So there wasn't kind of that added pressure or dichotomy of the local team, but it's like, okay, how could, you know, an organization like an SCN or NBI that already has a national network say, okay, like we're gonna, you know, put you in a small group meetup, and you're gonna meet, you know, on this date, maybe quarterly, and then to be able to have those conversations and connect outside of a group. Because I think one thing that you know, when Echo went from a 10-week program to this membership model, is I think one of the big insights that Anjanette has shared with us is entrepreneurs need help when they need help, not when the next cohort starts. It's like,
Right.
that's great that you have this program. No, I need help today. And so being able to provide help immediately, well, we as ecosystem builders are the same way. Like Village Capital, like you said, was a tremendous program for Echo. And as you know, the board, we saw, you know, just like what Anjanette was bringing to us and her report outs was like phenomenal from that program, but she still needs support outside of, you know, that program. And so how do we offer that? And so I don't know, maybe we have enough guests on this show and we start to say, hey, you know, we had 5 EDs, like, you know, throw them together. I don't know. But I think it's a really good point of like, how do you provide more focused support more often from multiple regions?
And maybe it was something targeted around. So a couple of things were coming up, and something happened locally in that year that we were transitioning, where I was really looking and going, oh, I don't know that I really love the data on, you know, and this 10-week thing and, you know, and growth, or even impact, how many businesses real, blah, blah, blah. So that first quarter of 24, really almost into H1, I could not bribe anybody to give me a grant. I couldn't win anything on the adult side. So I was writing grants, because we were pretty stable on the youth side with kind of the sponsorships, and we had the ARPA funding. So I could not. And I shared it with a peer, a local peer that I just had built some trust with. And I was like, I cannot buy a grant. Like and they said, would you be comfortable letting me look at some of your proposals? And I said, yep. And I did. And that was a huge leap. Huge leap when my own backyard, we're going to go after some of the same grants. We're going to be applying because we do similar work. But I did. I was just like, I think I can trust this person who gave me some very valuable advice. And then somebody else had shared something similar and gave me advice that I knew I would never take. Like, well, just turn your outputs into outcomes. Just count, like, you know, like how to cheat the system, which a lot of EDs, it's not cheating it, but it's like kind of sideways. Like we're going to put the programming and admin over, right? But I knew that that's something that I would never be comfortable with, because if I was going to do this and I was going to put all this time and all this time and effort and kind of blood, sweat, and tears in, I only wanted to do it if it had meaning, like real meaning. I don't want to be performative in any way at this stage. So that was super helpful. But if we had a group that like, hey, let's be creative fundraising. Let's think outside the box, because that's what's going to take. Philanthropy, we know, is broken. It's broken. And whether the funding, and we watch cycles, I mean, this current administration, the current where we are right now, has happened before, but in different ways, where philanthropy kind of shrinks and expands. It changes, the language changes. Right now, nonprofits are being told, diversify your revenue streams, you need data, right? There have been other times where we've been told, don't talk to me about your operating costs. Like this keeps happening because nonprofits were started for people to shield their money in lots of ways, right? And to solve some of the problems that government doesn't want to solve or community doesn't know how to solve. So we'll start this nonprofit, and then, you know, somebody's going to invest in it. But you've never seen a nonprofit funded enough to solve the problem, right? And you've never seen, it's not, I think about like a life cycle business where you start something and it has its own life and it has a discrete ending. Nonprofits don't. They can last forever because nobody's solving homelessness because it's not being funded. So I think about that a lot, and I think about Echo as a nonprofit. So it has to be creative because I can't rely on philanthropy. It's broken. It's a system that's broken. I didn't break it. The people who broke it didn't mean to break it. I mean, people are participating in it, don't know that it's all broken, but it's broken. And so putting people together that maybe we're thinking kind of outside the box, like creative outside the box. Austin on our board is like, I don't know, can we have some micro campaigns? And I was like, sure, let's try it. Let's see. That would be awesome. In a like, what's keeping you up at night type of group, and we could like throw our questions in and then really have some conversations, because somebody is going to challenge me on my philanthropy is broken, or maybe challenge me on like, have you thought about this? And I'd be like, oh my gosh, thank you. Or maybe that's something I could help with somebody else, right? I'm like, have you read this book, or do you know this thing, or have you tried this? And that's what that's what I've been given several times, or those little gifts. And I'll shout out Faye Horwood again. I mean, as a mentor, and me being so new in ecosystem building and not knowing what that meant when I first started, and thinking it was one thing. I mean, she just was so generous in my own backyard, right? And just so generous in encouraging me, and then seeing me, and then thanking me for looking at it through this lens. If we're going to do it, let's do it right. And let's start trying to hold each other accountable to do it right.
I think another thing that you mentioned there is like, one key is being willing to be challenged and being open to it. And, being able to hear that and to act on it. And having the humility to say, oh, okay, like that's a good point. I haven't considered that. And I really value that in your leadership, is your willingness to be challenged, and your openness to consider the other way. I do want to call that piece out, and what you said, because there was a lot there, but I feel like that one was like a little piece of it that actually is a really big, crucial piece, which is like, we're not always going to be right. And there are going to be those that, like, we need those people to challenge us. And so like Richard said, like, we meet weekly, and there's accountability built in there, to say, hey, no, like, why don't you do this? You should do this. And to be able to challenge us. So find those accountability folks. And then also, how can we support in that? So, well, Richard, any, closing questions, or Anjanette, closing thoughts?
Is it okay if I have a closing thought and not a closing question?
Please.
Am I allowed?
Please.
Is this our show?
Or Anjanette, a closing question, and Richard, closing thought. I don't know. I hear we're on AST-RST.
AST-RST. But also we're on Joe Coffee standard time, because they're closing in 2 minutes. I got 2 minutes here. They shut the lights off already, trying to kick us out. This is great. As I am hearing, right, this conversation about peer groups, I'm hearing this conversation about how do we talk to people who have similar challenges and learn from them. It reminded me of a facilitation tool that we learned at Fast Track 1MC Summit. And in our opening session, the opening keynote was about how do we do collaboration and connection and things like this, and support each other across ecosystems. And one tool that we learned and we experienced is this thing called rapid coordination. And I will put a link to that in the chat here. Austin, you can throw that live if you'd like.
Yep.
And we took this, we experienced it, then I used it at 1 Million Cups this Wednesday, and it was fantastic. So the way it goes is, we know that there are needs that we have, and everyone has their own specific challenges and needs. And we also know that there are people in the room that have had similar experiences, have expertise, have experience in these areas. So how do we quickly get them together into a group, kind of like a little topic specific peer group, And the way they did this was they had everyone prepare business cards or little slips of paper. You just need name and email, right? And so then they had us organizers and facilitators in the big group 200-person setting stand up with the mic, and we had a challenge that we wanted to get support on. And so I stood up and said, hey, I am thinking about succession planning a lot for 1 Million Cups. I've been here for a long time. How do I build a very sustainable and supportive and resilient networking organizing team, so this network of organizers and community can continue to exist? Because I can't do this forever, no one can. And so there were many people who either had similar challenges or had experience doing that, where they had transitioned out of leadership roles in that. Oh, they're waving at me to go, so I'm going to wrap this up real quick. And so they basically said, all right, if you have had this experience and this challenge and have solved it or have experience on it, note that down on your card. And then if you have the same challenge, note that down as well. And everyone gave me the business cards. And so it was up to me to set up that group. And so I will email everyone and get everyone on a call. And we did that for all different types of topics. So that's how we coordinated that in a group of 200 people.
That's super cool. That reminds me a little bit, Anjanette, of Magnet a little bit. Richard, I know you got to go. Appreciate you hopping on. I'll close out the episode with Anjanette.
So nice to meet you, Richard.
Thanks.
I'll see you this fall.
Yeah. Good. See you then.
Bye.
Hey, Richard. Bye. But yeah, that kind of reminds me of, Magnet with Sarah Finnerty, the event that she's running, where it's like, hey, I have this question, you put it up, and then the rest of the attendees can say, oh, I can help with that. But really, it's the Echo model. Hey, I need help with this. Who can help me in the community, right?
Right. Who can connect me? We did a thing on conference, and the community leaders drinking coffee, like Danny Rosen, Maggie Kane, came up with this unconference. Also very similar. You put four people and you spend time just talking and listening, and people are taking notes and challenging you. I appreciate what you said earlier. I mean, I think that's kind of one of my final thoughts, is that I almost don't know how to do it differently because I don't know what it is. I mean, there's a collaborate. I have both kind of that's collaborative nature, and also I'm a Taurus. I want efficiency. I don't want to work this hard. Right? I think we can all do this better if we do it together. So there's that kind of collaborative, that kind of lazy procrastinator. But then also I am very direct. I'm very direct. If you want me to solve, if you come to me with a problem, I'm going to solve it. Right? But I won't have necessarily the best idea, but if you ask me, I'm going to give you all the ideas. So if we can find kind of that balance of here are a lot of ideas, but it'd probably be a lot better if we challenged each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would be the best idea. And then we're all putting forth kind of the best idea that moves the needle for you, for me, for all of us. Yeah. So I appreciate that feedback, but I don't know how else to do it.
When you were saying that, I was just like, is Anjanette dropping some vanilla ice on us right now? You got a problem? I'll solve it.
No, but I can.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, I really appreciate you joining us today, and not only sharing the Echo story, the experience, but also what you learned. For our viewers that want to learn more about Echo, you can check out Echo at echo-nc.org. If you would like to connect with Anjanette, I'm also going to drop her LinkedIn here in the chat. And Anjanette, thank you so much for joining us, for sharing your experiences as an ecosystem builder. And I hope to see you soon. My trip to North Carolina got pushed back from end of August to probably actually the week of the board meeting, September 10th. So that
nice.
week.
Okay.
So
yay.
I'll hopefully be able to see you then. But appreciate coming on and all you do for our entrepreneurs, for the community.
You're so welcome.
With Anjanette. Perfect. We got that link shared. There we go. Awesome. Well, any final words before we cue the music and send us off?
You know, Mitch Sava, and you bring up a problem at, during a meeting, right? So you bring like, oh, there's this problem, or there's this thing, or there's this issue, and he's like, you brought it up. You want to, you want to solve it. So I'll just share, as you and Richard or anybody else, if we want to think about kind of this near peer group, I'm in, and I'm happy to
Right.
help kind of coordinate or, just support it. So I'll put my money, not my money where my mouth is, but I'll walk the walk and talk the talk. So I'm in. People reach out if you want to do some things.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. And I know I'll be talking to you
Thanks.
soon.
Okay.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.